to refactor or rebuild a Gatsby app using Next.js. And the reason we're doing that is because the app that I'm going to show you was built with Gatsby back when I thought Gatsby was the best thing for apps rather than just for websites. And the behavior doesn't really fit the Gatsby model that well. So I decided to try doing it with Next.js instead. I think it's going to work better with Next.js. I don't think it's not working right now, and it's honestly an excuse to try Next.js. The app we're talking about is if you've ever read one of my emails, if you're not subscribed, you should totally subscribe on Swizz.com or whatever. All of my emails come with a thumbs up, thumbs down emoji voting system at the bottom. This is how I know whether the email is any good and get some feedback and ideas for future emails. If you click this, you are redirected to a Gatsby app that talks to a serverless backend using GraphQL. And the problem here is that the vote is recorded after you already load the page. This works okay unless something goes wrong. Now, to move the vote counting to the backend, I sometimes see ConvertKit metrics saying that that more people have clicked on this than the votes I actually get into the database. So I think there might be a bug there, and I'm hoping that revamping this with Next.js is going to improve the situation. The whole app is built as I think you could call it a monorepo. It's not really a monorepo. It's just a file. It's just a directory with two subdirectories, one for the backend, one for the front end. We're going to leave the backend completely alone, and we're going to rebuild the front end with Next.js. And I'm going completely from scratch here. I've also never done this I've never done a conversion from Gatsby to Next.js before, so I have no idea what's going to happen. So we're going to start with npx create next app. I think that's how it goes. Let's see, we're going to run that. The project is going to be called, let's call it SparkJoy Next.js, because that's what the app itself is called. This is now generating a new Next.js app, which should pretty much give us get half the work done for us. And then we're going to add Team UI because I like using Team UI as the design system. And after that, we're going to start porting this stuff from Gatsby to Next.js. I don't think there's a code mod for this, so we're just going to have to do it ourselves. Git status, I'm going to git add dot and say git commit -a-m initiate Next.js app. Cool. Then we go into the SparkJoy Next.js and we're going to call, let's see, what do we need? I'm going to open the SparkJoy app itself. Let's see, random coding, SparkJoy. If we open the front end, that's going to give us the current Gatsby code. And then I can open in a new editor. I'm going to open the Next.js app. And then hopefully most of this is going to be about copy pasting things over. And we'll see how far we get. So SparkJoy Next.js. I'm going to, let's see, how can I organize this so it's easier with the windows and everything? Also, why did nobody tell me I was hiding the terminal behind my face? Maybe I should get a green screen. What do you guys think? Or girls? I don't think there's a lot of women on my YouTube channel. So what does everyone think? Should I get a green screen so that I look nice and floaty? Let's see. Yarn. Oh no, we're not going to go into Yarn dev just yet. We're going to open package.json on the front end app and see what we need to install. Oh, this is from when when Apollo hooks were a separate repository. This is a very old app. So we're going to need, what do I need? Styled components, styled system, rebas. Wow, this is very old. Use auth, okay, why do I need use auth? I forgot about that. React pose, I think that has also been, React pose I think doesn't really exist anymore. Let's see, React pose, are you still a thing? I use that for animations and transitions. React pose, no. Okay, npm.js, React pose. Let's see if that still exists. React pose. Notice React pose has been deprecated in favor of Framer motion. Cool. So this is a very old project then. We're going to start with installing Team UI. Yarn add Team UI, and then we're going to take it from there. So we've got Team UI. I'm going to wrap stuff in it. We're going to run yarn dev to get the actual app. Let's see, app. Give me the app. Come on. Oh, and then we're gonna have to do some dynamic routing for the UUIDs so that I'm gonna explain how this is all structured later. So if I go to localhost 3000, I should get the actual Next.js app. Cool. Let's see. Let's see. We said we're gonna add Team UI, so I'm gonna open the the app page or the app itself, and we say import. Let's see if it auto imports. So we're going to wrap this in a team provider. Bam, come on. Team provider, auto import from styled components. No, auto import from Team UI. Yeah. Okay, let's go import team provider from Team UI. And then we go team provider. We wrap the whole component tree in this thing. And then we're going to delete the CSS stuff. Okay, team provider showed up. We're going to delete globals.css. Let's see. Hey, ES Python develop, how are you doing today? ls styles. Let's rmrf the styles. We're not going to be using that anymore. And then we need to go into the index page, and here where it's installing styles, we need to remove that. And we're going to say here, we're gonna say container auto import from Team UI, and we're gonna say heading auto import from Team UI as well. And we're gonna say hello stream world. This is just to test that stuff is working. Great. So we've got that working. Now we need to pick an actual team. So we're going to go into Team UI presets because I am a terrible designer. We're going to pick a preset and see if we find a color theme that looks nice. So we have this is the base preset, which looks pretty okay. Let's go to demo. So dark. Ooh, I like dark. Should we use this one? That looks like it's going to pop. I like deep as well. Deep is a good one. Funk, future, no, roboto. Swiss, don't like Swiss. System, Tosh. No, definitely not Tosh, not Bootstrap. Tailwind. Should we pretend that we are using Tailwind? That could be kind of cool. Nah, let's go with deep. I like deep. So we're gonna use deep. I'm going to say import deep from @teamUI presets, like that. And then we say team provider, team equals team. I'm going to define the team right here. And this is because we're going to add some extensions. So we're going to say const team equals everything from deep. Actually, let's install merge because I know merge is going to be useful here. Yarn add low dash dot merge. And the reason I'm using merge is because it's going to make it easier to merge the base theme with my overrides that I'm going to add for like the container sizing and stuff like that. So say const team equals merge from low dash merge, and we take deep and then a custom object. We add the team to team provider, and let's see if the colors change. import deep model not found team UI presets. Okay, let's add that. Yarn add at team UI presets. What VS Code theme am I using? I think I'm using the Tomorrow theme. I always forget. I'm using the Tomorrow theme, and then I took a weekend many years ago to configure a bunch of little things so that I have a cleaner UI, because I like that. Okay, go back yarn dev. We got the presets, and now this should load and give us a. Oh, I forgot to start my live coding timer. I like to use this to know how it's a little timer thingy that lets me know how much time I've spent on different things. Cool. We've got deep. Yeah, that'll do. So then we're going to say, I'm gonna go into the team definition. Let's see, where is it? Team spec. Here we go. Team spec is going to have something for the container. Where do I do that? I know it exists, not buttons. I think if we do this, I forgot how to do it with 800. Bam. Okay. So now we've got a nice centered container for all of our things. This is going to be the main. So we've got the basic team set up. Now we're going to try to steal the original page from Gatsby. And hopefully that will give us most of what we need. Git status, git add, git commit -a -m, set up team UI. We've got that set up. Then we go here. Let's see, how is SparkJoy doing this? So now I'm looking at my original Gatsby app, and I'm going to first try to just replicate the part that is doing the user voting. There's an admin interface as well, but I'm not a fan of that interface, so I'm probably going to rebuild it completely, and I'm going to use this right now. So if we go into components, here we go, full screen form. That looks useful. So we're going to try to, okay, pages, vote.js. Let's see, how does the vote page work? We're gonna go here and we're going to create a new vote page. Sends a vote to the backend, locally stores data to prevent double voting. Okay, so that's gonna be kind of annoying. Vote type heading, thank you view, form view, vote page. So we're gonna start by taking the vote page, and then we're gonna go from there. The cons of Team UI versus Material UI or Bootstrap. So that's a great question, ES Python. I like using Team UI because it gives me a really good basic, it's a good base for a design system that you can modify yourself. And it gives you a lot of really, really good built-in components and makes it easier to build stuff quickly. I don't like the way Material UI looks. That's a big reason why I prefer Team UI. And I think Team UI is also better in terms of how it uses CSS and CSS variables when it's actually compiled and deployed, which makes it perform better, potentially. In terms of Bootstrap, I'm just not a fan of Bootstrap because it's been a long time since I used it, so I don't know if the story has improved there, but last time I checked, it was kind of cumbersome to use with React. Okay, so back to this. We're going to start with, what did I do? Okay, we need to start with the vote page. The vote page itself is going to, what's it gonna do? It needs to be, let's see, we're gonna save it as a dynamic page, and it's going to be called a, so this is a dynamic dynamic page, we're using square brackets, which is how Next.js lets you define dynamic URLs. We're going to say, let's call it, I think it's the widget ID, vote ID. It is called, let's call it vote type. Yeah, vote type, vote type.js, vote type UUID.js. That's gonna give us this thing. And then we export default a page. So we're going to export default the vote page like this. And we're going to copy paste from, so we're copy pasting from my original project and hoping that that works. I'm going to comment all of this stuff out for now, like that. So we have vote page, full screen. We're going to have to import head from next/head. That's gonna give us the ability to set a title. So we say head, and I'm going to change full screen instead to say, should it still be full screen? Yeah, let's just keep that. Let's see, how does full screen work? What is full screen? Style.div. We do not need this anymore. So I'm going to instead render a container like that. And we have a head, which is going to take a title tag that says thank you and head like that. So we've got the main part. We don't need the footer. Do we need the footer? Let's see. What does the footer do? Footer. Where did I define the footer? Font size. Meh. Let's not have a footer. We're not going to need that. What we do need is this part that starts with. What does it start with? God damn it. I am blanking on so many things. Okay. So we've got this thing. We need the thank you view. So I'm going to copy the thank you view from here. Const copy thank you view. We're going to put it here. We don't need this part anymore, and we don't need, oh, interesting. Okay, thank you view, like that. We've got that. Let's start with true, see what that renders. So if I reload this, now if I go to pretty much any page here, it's going to be understood as a, we need to import use state. So we can say import asterisk as React from React. And we say react.useState. Container is not defined. Why did container not auto import? We import the container from team UI, and heading is not defined. So let's import heading from team UI. Will that work? Cool. So we have thank you, you're the best. And you see, this is one of the benefits of, well, it's supposed to be. Why is font size not work? Oh, right. So when I originally built this, I was using Rebase, which is now superseded by Team UI. So we're going to have to switch a couple of things around. Like here where it says font size, this needs to change. This needs to change into SX equals font size. And then because we're using Team UI, we can use an array of values, which gives us different behavior depending on the size of our app. See? Thank you, you're the best, and stuff just works. Let's center this on the page to make it nicer. So we're gonna say SX equals text align, I think, center, and that should make everything centered. Great. So we now have thank you, you're the best. Next part is making the actual form view. The form view is going to need a It looks like the vote view is going to need, what's it called? It's gonna need stuff from the server. So we now need to actually get server-side props. Yes, that's what it's called. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna say export function get server-side props, and this code get server-side props runs when you are running when the page is being generated. So I can console log here. Come on, console.log hi, and we're gonna see if that prints something, and then we're going to return just empty props for now. I think it's like that. Let's see if that prints. So we're gonna go into the terminal, reload the page, and we see that hi is rendered, hi is printed to our console when we're running the app, which means that get server-side props is running when we are requesting this page. We're now going to use that opportunity to get data from the server using Apollo client. An Apollo client is a GraphQL client. And the reason I'm going to use Apollo client is because I know that my server is using Apollo server, which should make it relatively easy to make this work. So we're going to add yarn add. How do I add the Apollo client? Let's Google real quick. Apollo client. Just want to make sure that I have the right quick start in my mind. Explore the docs. Come on. Get started. Client React. Perfect. Yarn add at Apollo. Come on. At Apollo/client GraphQL. So we're now installing the Apollo client, which I think we should be able to use on the back end of the front end. It's getting kind of confusing, but think of it as still the front end, but running on the server, if that makes sense. So thank you view here. We're going to then check how I was getting this data on use save vote. How am I widget ID page context? Aha. So we have page context is created by stateful create pages. Cool. I forgot what that is about. So we're gonna go into Gatsby node, and this is where we are creating these pages. So this is the query we want. Widgets API, all widgets, source page vote.js. Where are we getting data for? Aha. Okay. So this is the query we need, which means we are going to, how do I do this? It's been a while since I used, aha, there we go. Apollo client with a URL and an in-memory cache. And that works. Connect your client to React. That should also work. Okay. Cool. So we're gonna copy this stuff and say, bam. And I'm going to organize this stuff later. Here we're gonna say now, client dot query, right? Is it like that? Client query, then result. Perfect. So we're gonna say const result equals client dot query, and I'm going to import this stuff. Then we're going to copy the query for all of the widgets. I think I have a better query available when I will check that in a little bit. Now I'm just trying to make sure that I can connect my get server-side props with Apollo, or with my serverless Apollo server. Console log result. We'll see what that does. Result. Da-da-dum. And I need to connect this, how do I connect it? Let's go look at where am I putting the environment variables and such things. Gatsby config, environment helper, server URL. So where do we get the server URL? Let's open a file, Command Shift dot. Let's see, front end, there should be a .env file here somewhere. Prettier RC env helper. Okay, what is env helper doing? Get env. Oh, wow. Okay. Cool, that works. So I am taking the server URL, putting it here. This is going to come from env later on. Now this should, in theory, get stuff from my, let's run yarn dev. So if this works, it's going to load the dynamic page, talk to my serverless lambdas on page generation, and then spit out a result in the terminal. Now let's see. Query option is required. You must specify your GraphQL document in the query option. What? That's new. Okay, so it already made that request and it already didn't work. Query option. What query option? You must specify what? Okay, let's see. What does that mean? I've never seen that error before. Okay, let's go back to the Apollo docs. Oh, I see what's wrong. I should not have passed it in directly. It needs to be passed in as an object. I need to say query and then do this. Now let's try. So we're making a query, and are we spitting out unhandled promise rejection? This error originated. Response not successful. Received status code 400. That's cool. So now why did we receive status code 400? Let's go to this URL directly. Come on. I think I know what's wrong, but let's verify. So if I go to the URL, my Lambda renders the Apollo playground, which I can then use to test my queries. I need to change this to dev, which it remembered from some long time ago. I can copy this, put it in here, and press play. Cannot query field widgets API on type query. Did you mean widget? I did. So I need to do it like this. There we go. Okay. So now we got all of the queries or all of the, it's kind of hard because I don't feel like explaining the data model because I'm not a fan of the data model. Basically, the idea was that each one of these widgets here has a unique ID, which is then used on the backend to identify them and to map them to provide to users and so on. That did not pan out. The way I'm actually using this is a little bit different. So what I'm trying to do is kind of just work around that without having to rebuild the entire data model right now. Right now, I'm focusing on getting Gatsby, getting the same thing that worked in Gatsby to work on Next.js instead. That's the idea, at least. We've been at it for 30 minutes. Okay, that's good enough. We're gonna keep going for a little bit longer. Now, let's see. I'm going to, so we're going to await this, and I'm mostly console logging the result. Can we say that this is an async function? Yay, it just magically works. Awesome. So we got the all widget data, and data is in the data part. So we're gonna say data is await client query. Result is not defined. Yes, obviously. So now it's gonna be data. This is going to tell us what we got from the perfect. Now the next step is going to be, let's see, do I have a way to, oh, I do, nice. So we're going to try to query a specific widget, but we don't, that's frustrating. We need a user ID to get a specific widget, which means the all widget query is still gonna be easiest. That is indeed frustrating. So this is not gonna scale as a data model, which is, we're gonna try to add that not in this episode. We're gonna try to do that in a different episode. So I am here. We're going to, let's see. What can we do? How can we filter this? Widget ID, widget type, follow-up questions. Is this actually the widget ID? Let's verify. If we go to Gatsby node, we are creating the paths with widget ID. Yep. And then we have thumbs up and thumbs down URLs, which kind of makes sense. I don't think that's going to work with Next.js routing though. So that's going to have to be something we figure out later. Now, vote page, get server-side props. Now we need the router. How do I get route data? Next.js. Let's go into, there we go, Next.js by Vercel. And we're gonna look at how the router works because I always forget. Next.router. Use router. No, router object, current path name. Perfect. So, yes. With URL object, const router equals use router, router replace usage, router prefetch, before prop state. Before pop state, no, usage, router back, router reload, events. Okay, so we're going to import router from next/router, right? Come on. Let's go back up. Use router, okay. I wonder if we can use, can we use that? Let's try. Let's go use router and let's see if we can go const router equals use router. Does that work? And then we can go console log router dot path. No, router dot props. Yes. Let's console log the router and see what it gives us. So I think it compiled successfully. We can go back here, reload the page. Yeah. Okay. So we definitely can't use hooks here. That was kind of what I was expecting. So let's see. Let's go into the dynamic routes. Dynamic routes. Use router, next router, router.query. How do we use this in get server side props? What about get server side props? There we go. Get server side props. Context. Aha. Context has the query. Wonderful. So if we say instead of context, we're gonna say the query params. Perfect. So we're gonna say params, and then we're gonna have const widget ID comes out of params, and we're going to console log the widget ID just to see that we got it compiled successfully. Get started style system localhost blah undefined. Okay, what about if we just console log the params? Does that give us something useful? Aha, vote type UUID. Cool. Fuck it, let's call it widget ID. So we're gonna call this the widget ID, and I'm going to deal with refactoring the data structure, data model later. So we've got the widget ID. Now we're gonna have to move this. So we move pages backslash vote type UUID to pages slash widget ID bam.js. Okay, I'm going to don't save. We go to widget ID.js, widget ID params. Okay, we've got that. Now here, when we have data, we're now going to try to find the information for the actual, for the specific widget. So we're gonna say let's console log the data again, just so I know exactly what it looks like. And we say yarn start, no yarn dev, yarn dev. Bam, reload the page. Come on, reload the page, reload the page. There we go. Reload the page. Build page, widget ID, compiling, compiled successfully, wonderful. So if we parse this, yes, cool. So we're going to say const widget equals data.find, and we're going to say we want the w dot widget ID to equal the widget ID to do support a query to we said support a query to fetch this directly, and it's not data.widget, it's data.allWidget, right? Bam. All right, so we've got this, and then we're going to add the widget to props, and we should now be able error serializing .widget returned from in undefined cannot be serialized as JSON. Yes. So it's going to be either this or an empty object if we don't find anything. Oh, I need to make this maybe a little wider. Cool. Excuse me. So now here, instead of page context, we should get crap. Get server-side props. Come on. Server-side props. How do they get into props? Page data. Aha. Okay. Ba-ba-bam. Cool. So we're going to say that this is now going to have the actual widget, and we can console log the widget on the front end and see if the data makes it through. I'm going to use, let's say, this widget ID to do stuff. So we go here, get started, styled system. Thank you. We're going to paste it here, open the Chrome console so that we can see if anything's coming through. Do that. And yes. All right. So we have successfully gotten data from a serverless Lambda using GraphQL to the get server side props of Next.js, and then communicated that to a dynamically server side generated page on the front end. So that's great. Now the next step we need is, what is the next thing we need? We're not going to need any of this just yet. What we do need is this. So we're going to copy widget to here. Bam. This should give us everything. Now we're gonna save the votes on the backend or on the server side. I'm gonna try to be consistent with using backend for stuff that's running on serverless and server side for stuff that's running on the backend of the front end or whatever you want to call that. Now we need the actual form view. So we're gonna go with false here. And then we copy the form view. Here we go back into the vote.js and we take the form view. The form view looks like this. So form view has all of the thingies. Now we need to, on submit needs to be defined as a function. We're going to just uncomment this and do that so that this way on submit is actually defined and the page doesn't yell at us. But we do need to define the components that it's using to render the form. Yeah. So let's see. It's complaining about the vote type heading, which comes from, it's still on the vote page. So we take vote type heading and I'm running out of places to put this, but we can organize the code later. We don't have the full screen form, which is defined in the full screen form. And this, is it doing anything weird? Does not look like it is. Cool. But this could get a little interesting. So we're going to copy this component and we're going to make a new file. We're going to save this as, let's just put it in components. So I'm going to create a new folder called components. And we said that this is called the full screen form.js. Come on. Full screen form.js. Cool. So full screen form.js is going to require us to, we're going to be importing this stuff from Team UI. And then we're going to need React final form, even though these days I'm a much bigger fan of React hooks form, but we're trying to keep, initially at least, we're trying to keep this refactor as minimal as possible. So we're going to yarn add React final form. And I'm going to use React pose, even though it's deprecated, again, because I can, right? So we say yarn add React pose and, I don't like how these styled components work, but we can deal with that later. Again, is everything else defined here? I hope so. We're not using flex. So everything rendered or everything installed. Now we need to actually import full screen form. Let's see if it's smart enough to figure it out. Auto import from, yes, it was smart enough to figure it out. So we can now run yarn dev again. And let's see if a form shows up. The form that's asking you, hey, thank you for voting. Why did you like this? Why didn't you like this? Stuff like that. Let's see. Okay, compiled successfully. Build page. Let's see if this reloads and shows us things. Come on, fingers crossed. I hope it works. It's a little slow because it needs to talk to a server. Ooh. Nice. Okay. Sweet. It's kind of unfortunate that it says that you didn't enjoy my live stream. But on that terrible disappointment, we're going to wrap this up for today. I have a new piece of furniture to go build. We're going to continue on Sunday, 2 p.m. Join me where you joined me for this, and there's going to be a write-up tomorrow. I think we've made a lot of really good progress. We figured out how to hook up Apollo with get server-side props for Next.js. We figured that most of the code was able to go straight from Gatsby to to Next.js and worked pretty well. But that's great news. Yeah, and we're gonna continue figuring this out on Sunday. So thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you next time.